Can you all show some excitement, please? That's amazing. So are you all ready and excited for the literature extravaganza? Yes. I can't hear you all. Yes. Is this the energy? Yes. That is it? Come on. Are you all excited and ready? Yes. Amazing. I'm really looking forward to have a wonderful conversation and a detailed discussion as well. So to begin with, we are a generation that lives on phone. Of course, most of us would agree. Everything we consume is via social media. We cook what food influencers mostly post and wear what is in trend and aspire to travel to places beyond our budget just to be Instagram fit and ready. Definitely beauty standards of we inspire by many celebrities and we try to look like them and post pictures like them. From food to relationships, everything for this generation gets improved on social media only. How has social media changed our sense of making our decision? And how has it impacted the decision-making process? So what are your thoughts?
This one's alright. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Great. Alright, so I'm sure all of you are out there with your phones and ready to post some reels and stories and doing Instagram lives right now. Social media plays a huge role in our decision making. You know, I'm a dermatologist. You talked about posing selfies and looking at filters, and I deal with the A-listers of Bollywood. I deal with a lot of models, a lot of actors, and I also deal with regular patients who, yes, come to me. There are opinions, there are advices, there are inspirations that they seek from these celebrities and models, and that there are various filters all the time. There's the selfie culture, and at some point of time there is also social proof. So when I write a prescription, patients will say, "Doc, are you sure you want to write this product for me and not the other one?" And I'm like, "Why?" Because that one has got more followers, more likes, more shares. So I think that product is better. So gone are the days when you can just write a prescription and say, "Okay, use this." They are now questioning us. So the decision making depends on social proof as well. Sometimes it may not be authentic because of the paid partnerships. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Fine line. And there's also availability of a lot of products. There's e-commerce, so it can be very overwhelming. When there are so many products, there's a decision fatigue because you do not know which is the right product for you. And there's again a very, very tough situation that people go through when it comes to. Although there is you have to, at the end of the day, when it comes to dermatology, only going to be talking about skin and dermatology. That's where I come from. I think there is a must make sure that whatever decision you take, I think we can get better mindset. Yeah. When it comes to skincare, do not just get overwhelmed by what is there on social media. You do not have to do your 10 skincare regime. You do not have to follow so many layers of skincare and use this serum and that serum and this and that. Skincare is holistic. You have to consult a dermatologist at some point. And keep it and that's about it.
Yeah, I'll try this one. Thanks. So to answer your question, first, I think social media is very, very important part of everyone's lives. It has many pros, many cons in so many ways. The world in which I come from, which is trying to help create a more LGBTQ inclusive India, social media has really, really helped empower people who might have otherwise not had voices or spaces. Where is that? Yeah. For example, for years within the LGBTQ movement, within LGBTQ spaces, a lot of the decisions were being taken by people in Bombay, Delhi, and so on. a lot of the large organizations for, say, queer activism were in larger cities. But because of things like social media, which have, say, enabled, say, queer organizations to go beyond the regular funding cycles, there is a chance for incredible intersectional queer organizations to exist across our country. To give you an example, there is Ya All, which is in Manipur, which is run by Saddam Hanjabam, which is a drop-in center, a skilling center, a sports venue for LGBTQ people from the Manipur and from the Northeast. And they've been able to do their work, raise funding, spread awareness of not only what does it mean to be queer, but what does it mean to be queer in the Northeast of India, which is a region that is often ignored in larger conversations around being LGBTQ because of social media, because of Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. There is Grace Banu, who is India's first Dalit trans engineer, who operates out of Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu, who runs an organization called Trans Rights Now, and who has been working ceaselessly for the past few years for horizontal reservations for trans people over the past few years, because the 2014 NALSA judgment for transgender rights in our country encouraged various state and the central government to create 2% reservation in government jobs for trans people. Now, it's very hard for a Grace otherwise to get that message across, but because of social media, they have been able to amplify this message and actually spread this as well. And there are so many other organizations, Queer Muslim Project, for example, Dalit Queer Project, and so on. Of course, organizations in Gujarat as well, Laksh, Queer Abad, which is the Ahmedabad Pride, and there are so many organizations here itself which use social media very, very well. So I would say that besides, of course, everything that you cited in the beginning of people using social media in deciding what to wear and how to look and all of that, which is, I think a beautiful and fun use of social media. I think it's also incredible that people are using social media to connect, to learn, to share, to empower, and to expand their knowledge in much the same way that I am and UN has been doing over these years as well. So I would really want us to focus on that empowering aspect of social media, because it certainly has helped my people, the queer people of India, in incredible ways. Yeah.
My take is a little different than the other people have said. I'm still that old-fashioned, traditional-minded person from the 60s, I would say, where we didn't have social media when I was growing up. We didn't even have cell phones and no internet. So I don't use social media much. I'm not that active on social media. There are friends of mine who helped me in that. I'm still not able to understand how to use some of them. I'm still struggling to learn some ways of how to use them. So I'm quite lazy when it comes to social media. People post things and I just share. That's the only thing I do for the social media. But yes, I do agree that social media is helpful to connect and to kind of bring the world closer, and communication and all is important. But I think I'm more into mainstream media than social media. So, if I have to tell people where I am, my news will come in the newspaper, and then people come to know, oh, he's in Hyderabad today. And then people contact me, So I think my news comes in the newspapers, and that's how people come to know where I am. And and the next day they come to know in social media. So by the time it's too late. So I am not very well versed. I'm still learning. I'm trying to see what is Instagram, what is Facebook, what is... I'm still a student. If there's any help anyone can give me, I'll be grateful how to use these mediums. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And I agree with the fact that social media has opened a multitude of avenues to explore a lot of things on plethora of issues. And that takes to my second question. With the latest generation, we see a unique paradox. They are the first to create safe spaces and open dialogues, but also the ones to promote cancel culture and shut avenues of discourse. How does one understand this? Do you think this generation will be the one to create more queer spaces, or do we still have a long way to go? Is this the generation where we can promote self-love? So what is your take on that?
So, as a queer ally, when you talk of social media and how I have come into this panel, I'm very queer friendly. I have a lot of friends from the queer community, and my social media handle does say that I'm queer friendly. And I think youngsters, youth of today are more acceptable, they're more supportive towards the LGBT community as opposed to the previous generations, right? So there is a shift, but we have a long way to go. The shift I see in the mainstream media is much more now. They're more visible. Fashion industry, the makeup. Recently I was at the Lakme fashion show, and it was very heartwarming to see that 20% of them were from, the LGBTQ plus community. And it was really very, very, I was so happy. I said, okay, at least one sector is coming out. But there is still a lot of discrimination and stigma when it comes to other fields. For example, I have doctors who, a medical professional. I have engineers who are very good friends of mine, and they belong to the community and they do not want to come out in the open. My doctor friends say that if we tell people, they'll stop coming to us as patients, which is quite sad because, they are us. Why should their rights be different? They are human beings with the same heart, the same feelings, the same emotions, and they have the same body organs, they function the same. And I don't see why that discrimination and that taboo should be there. And I think all of you younger generation should work as a community, should join all these organizations that you've talked about, and should come forward and make this a movement, and where it brings about inclusion and diversity.
Thanks. So I'm going to, you asked about young people and hope versus cancel culture. So yeah, the only reason, when you work in this fields that say we work in, every day is full of hope and despair because, right? One day you will say that, this conference is happening, for example, the Lit Fest here, with I and you and Parul, etc., being such allies. But you open a newspaper and you will still read about lesbian suicides in Kerala, or parents giving electric shocks to their own children, or throwing their children out, or people, in the workplace, for example, as you said, engineers, doctors, etc., not being able to be themselves because of the hostile environment they live in, right? So hope and despair are part of our daily experiences. You go through many of these on a daily basis. The reason I have more hope and less despair is because of young people today. So again, I don't want to focus on the cancel culture because I think large parts of, anything which is good kind of becomes like a meme and then people make fun of it. I think cancel culture is useful because it helps people bring out injustice and then talk about it as well. So we can't mock it or say, oh, everyone is doing cancel culture. It's useful because people in positions of power for so many years have abused it. So young people are holding them accountable for it with Me Too or everything else. I think it's good. And I'm just so glad that more and more young people are holding other people accountable. And what I'm seeing is a lot of young people holding each other accountable and creating and trying to create a better world in which they can thrive in order to kind of undo some of the mistakes that previous generations have made and to help to try and create a better tomorrow. For example, we have this Supreme Court. Right now the Supreme Court is hearing, same-sex marriage or marriage equality arguments rather. And it's incredible, so many of the young people I've spoken to here at IMAN, etc., are even perplexed. Why is the Supreme Court hearing arguments for something that is so basic and that should be a given? Like, why should some people argue for the right to marry or argue for the right to be constitutionally equal in any case? So this gives me great joy because by the time it comes to, say, your generation, these things won't be argued and debated. It will be natural, these will be rights that everyone will have. So I'm actually very, very confident that, say, young people, tomorrow's generation, are already creating a better world, are seeing the linkages between, say, various social justice movements, because you can't be fighting for LGBTQ rights and not care about the anti-caste movement or not care about Black Lives Matter in other parts of the world and in India. not care about the environment and so on, right? If we want to create a better world for LGBTQ people, it has to be a better world for people from all castes and backgrounds. It has to be a better world for people from all religions. Everyone has to be given the same opportunities to be able to thrive. It can't be a better world only for human beings. It has to be a better world for the planet as a whole, and so on, right? So I see young people today more and more becoming aware of the fact that intersectionality is the lens through which we need to look at creating a better future, and are investing their time, their effort, their careers in trying to create a more intersection equitable world. So that gives me a lot of joy. So I would rather focus on the incredible work that young people are doing all over the world, Greta Thunberg in other parts of the world, all of you here, than focus on smaller things like cancel culture and all, which to me are also quite useful because they help spotlight some of the inequities. Yeah, so that's my take on it. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor, for being a strong supporter ally for us. We need people like you. And adding on to what Parmesh has said, yeah, definitely. I think the young generation today is very curious. I mean, because I get a lot of invitations coming, especially today also this with the students of Vadodara University and IMUN also, which happens to be the world's largest youth organization. Yeah, so see there you again say that it's a youth-driven initiative. I mean, I remember being interviewed by your founder on Instagram, and it was quite a delight because it just shows that the youth are definitely more interested in our issues, and it's increasing day by day, and that's why I see a lot of hope in India with many things happening because we all know the youth of today is the youth of the future of the country, the culture, and we have the largest youth population in the world as well. India has the largest youth population in the world. So I see a good future for this country. The fact that so many of from the young generation is taking interest in our work, our issues, trying to understand our issues, and that's definitely going to help us in the long run, making more and more allies for us. That's important. Thank you.
As Parmesh sir has mentioned about same-sex marriages, I want to have a brief discussion on the same, which brings to my next question. Many call the demand for same-sex marriages as an urban elite problem. Right? How do you respond to this? Does the process of sensitization only come from movies and social media? How far have they come in towards sensitizing India? What is your take?
Yeah, so thanks. I think, first of all, I'm so grateful to have Maya Sharma ji in the audience with us, who has been doing incredible work on queer same-sex relationships in Gujarat and rural India for so many decades now. So thank you, Maya, for being here and gracing us with your presence. And I want to answer your question by talking about that work, right? You only have to read Maya Sharma's writing over the past couple of decades to understand that queer love, queer relationships, queer marriage, queer togetherness is not an urban elite thing. It is part of rural India, it is part of urban India, it is part of us as human beings. Because love is love, right? I mean, gender and all of these things are constructs as well. And these systems, these relationships, these frameworks have been in our country. Maya writes about contemporary issues, Maya writes about lived experiences of people over decades who are living right now. There are other authors, whether it is Ruth Vanita and Salim Kidwai. Salim unfortunately passed away, who have written about the history of same-sex love in India of over thousands of years. Whether in our texts like Ramayana, Mahabharata, or so on, whether in temple carvings, whether in accounts of people from various, generations of moments in history as well. You understand that queerness is very much part of the culture of our country. Queer inclusion, queer possibility, queer marriage-like scenarios have all been there. In fact, discrimination is something that the British brought in. Homophobia is something that the British brought in when they came in. And I'm glad that more than 75 years after the British left, finally we are making attempts to kind of create a plural, accepting, inclusive India. I wish though for generations of people whom we have lost, from the 40s till now, there have been so many queer relationships, queer couples, queer families that could not live full lives because they were denied all those freedoms. I'm hoping that when the Supreme Court rules, that they rule progressively on marriage equality, not just same-sex, but for marriage between people who love each other. And I'm hoping that, say, your generation and the future generation, as I said earlier, don't have to debate this. Because our rights are not something for all of you to debate on, right? Our rights are constitutional. We shouldn't be arguing or debating it. They are fundamental and given to us. We should be debating what all of us together can do to help create a better planet. Not about how some people can decide whether some people should love others and be given the same rights as others. So I'm just hoping that, when it comes to the courts, I'm hoping the courts and our country and society recognize that. And we can go back to, in a sense, the inclusive, accepting, plural idea of India which has existed for a long time. So yeah, that's my take on it.
I think you've said most of it all. When you talked about a sensitization through social media and through movies, yes, it's there, but it's very sporadic. A movie comes out and for a few days it creates waves and then it is forgotten. So what we need is continuity. We need sensitization on a day-to-day, regular basis. We need to break those stereotypes which exist. Those old myths regarding gender and sexual orientation. They have to be broken. So, as you rightly said, this is not about debating about what should be done. It's a right, it's a human right. And there should be proper guidelines, policies, there should be policymakers who should sort of eradicate this whole thing. It's all about love and we are human beings at the end of the day. So, I think that is very important.
Yeah, you see, what I would like to say is that, whatever comments or remarks are coming from people on us, on whether it is the same-sex marriage petition or anything, there's a lot of education needs to be done, and that's the reason why, these panel discussions, these things are important, and especially for the students, because calling anything like this is an urban elitist and all that is what people are just assuming or kind of guessing that what they are thinking is true. But the fact is something different, So it's very important, like Parmesh gave example of Maya Sharma. She's been working with so many rural queer women and even men, who are in same-sex relationships in rural areas. I am myself coming from a rural part of India. I'm coming from a very remote part of Gujarat, which is a majority tribal population. And I know so many couples from the rural parts who are living in a same-sex relationship. So it's not possible to call it an urban elitist. We have the facts and figures with us. We have the proof, we have the evidence. So this whole process of this case going on in the court, I call it. Somebody asked me the other day, what would you say about this case? I told them very simply, the Supreme Court of India is nothing else but a university. It is a place of education. The Chief Justice is the Chancellor of the university. The other judges are the Vice Chancellors, the Deans, and all those people. And then the professors are the lawyers. And the students are there, and this whole thing is I call it a university. I don't even call it a Supreme Court. It's an education. Everyone is going to get educated through this petition, and the right knowledge is going to come, and then whenever the judgment comes, then that's going to be the certificate. When you pass even Parul University or will graduate from this university, you will get a certificate, you will get a degree that okay, you all have passed this faculty in the Parul University, and that degree will help you getting jobs or whatever in your career. So this Supreme Court thing is nothing but it's an educational institution. Everything will be taught, all the facts will be known, of course on basis of evidence, and all the misconceptions, this urban elitist and whatever is they saying uncultural and this and havoc in the society, everything will be all streamlined, and the real facts of the case will be brought forward with evidence to all the students who are in the court, and the education will work in that manner.
I want to say one thing positive though. As a doctor, when I was doing my MBBS, we have a subject called forensic medicine in our second year, where at that point in time, I'm talking of 1991, homosexuality was a crime. But recently, I think there have been laws which have passed, and it is no longer a crime, and I think that is a step forward. So decriminalization of homosexuality, which is now removed from our forensic books, and otherwise it was taught to us. Can you imagine, as medical graduates, and that has been removed, and I think that's a step ahead, that's a step forward, and I hopefully with all you youth, there'll be many more milestones to be covered and crossed, and they will be.
Definitely, ma'am, I'm looking and hoping for the same in the near future. And if you ask me, like, as soon as possible. Coming to the next question, schools and other education institutes, as sir mentioned, still majorly deny access to primer gender sensitization. Those who have access to spaces like this literature festival at Parmesh University, or even volunteers who engage in IIMUN, are more sensitized and aware of such issues when they are eventually become adults who step into positions of power and action. How can we bring about change in this? If places of learning do not become progressive, is there any hope, or what can young leaders do to create a healthier environment and a better ecosystem?
I think it's quite sad that in schools and colleges, sexual orientation and gender equality is not being discussed openly. It can be very traumatic for a child who's I know of children who are about 10, 11, 12, and they do not understand their gender, and they're sort of really confused, and because of their mannerisms, they're ridiculed by the other children around in school. And that's because of lack of knowledge, lack of creating that awareness amongst everybody, all the students, right? So I think there has to be an amalgamation of educators, policymakers, people who are from the administrative section in the schools and colleges. I think they have to come together and make policies and add this in the curriculum of the students, for the students, to understand all of this better. And then, of course, there are a lot of these, again, the non-profit organizations, community organizations, the anti-bullying organization. I know of a friend of mine, a very, very dear friend, who went into a shell, went into depression, because he was always bullied in school, and then he grew up with that inferiority complex, and then I am not good enough. He went all over the country to different temples and places where he thought, God changed me. I don't want to be this person who is being ridiculed all the time. Then he thought of maybe I should take some medicines, and then he thought of suicide. So I'm talking of one example. There are millions like this, right? And therefore, it's extremely important that we bring about this change right from the time the child begins to understand all this. So it has to be a part of the curriculum.
So, just following on that, I think what y'all can do is insist that your school or college has this. And in the past few months, there have actually been incredible changes. So in Bombay in the past month, I spoke to Jamnabai, I spoke to Kathik, I've been talking to many schools in which the students had forced their teachers and the parent-teacher association to talk about LGBTQ issues, because the students have realized that the teachers don't know. So the students have told the teachers, you need to learn about pronouns, you need to address me by proper pronouns, we need all gender washrooms and so on. You as students have a lot of power. almost every major MBA program in this country, whether it's the IIMs. The point is, all over the country right now, schools, colleges, universities, student-led are creating spaces where they are encouraging their professors, they're encouraging PTA, they're encouraging this to saying that this is what we want to talk about, we want to create a more equal world. You need to create this for us. So what should you do? You should use your voice and say, I only want to study in a place which treats everyone equally. I want to study in a place which cares about the environment. I want to study in a place which is non-racist. I want to study in a place which is anti-caste. I want to study in a place which is LGBTQ inclusive, etc., etc. And this is how you need to be doing it. If you don't, you should go and study somewhere else. So that's how schools and colleges are also understand that we're not going to get tomorrow's students if we don't act. We all have the power, so please use it and act. Act with your feet, act with your minds, and act with your wallets.
Yeah, very well said, Parmesh. In fact, I'm reminded 15 years back, Maya knows where we started, they started Vikalp and we started Lakshya in Gujarat. And almost 2 decades back, and we used to have this program which was initiated by the government called School AIDS, an AIDS program. It was AIDS for HIV/AIDS education, and I mean most of these HIV/AIDS led programs include sex education, and we used to impart a lot of sex education in schools and colleges till one fine day they banned it. And why? Parents are saying, oh, these people come and they are spoiling our children. So, okay, I mean, if sex education is spoiling the children, then that was the parents' thinking. Few years later, a school from Baroda, the students of them came to my office in Lakshya Trust, and then they said, sir, we want to restart, we want to initiate the sex education program. I said, what about your parents? He said, no, we have convinced the faculty, we have convinced the teacher, and we have got the resolution passed in the Parents Teachers Association, and we are going to do it. Parents will not raise objection. I said, wow, that's something remarkable, you know. And this school has started sex education in Baroda. Our organization is very much part of that. So again, see, it's a student-driven thing. They said, we don't care what the parents say and what others have to say. We want to know, you know. I mean, come on now, India is land of Kama Sutra. the world's oldest sex encyclopedia is written in India, and the schools, the parents say that they are spoiling the children. I don't know what is that logic or basis of that. But anyway, the students brought back sex education, and now they are not only this school, many other schools. I went to a very interesting school. I think you also must have been in New Delhi, this Tagore International School. Tagore International School is the most progressive school I've ever seen. Tagore has got students who are trainers. Students of Tagore International School are trainers. They are educating other students, other teachers of other, even Delhi municipal schools. They are educating them on LGBT issues, on sex, gender, sexuality. Amazing work Tagore is doing. I visited the school. I met the students. I gave a talk there. I mean, if Tagore International School can do it in New Delhi, then why not other schools in India? You know, it's a role model. It's a great source of inspiration for so many people. And today that school has got a name in the country. Even out of country, also people know about Tagore International School. So there is a way out. You know, and I'm sure students can drive this forward and bring this attention to the school authorities and get this initiated. It's possible. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. More and more schools should take inspiration from such measures and implement more of that. And talking about your new launch, ma'am, the Skincare Answer book, what is your inspiration behind your new book? Has your perception of skincare changed over time?
Thank you. That's my book. It's called the Skincare Answer book. It was recently launched by Ranveer and Neetu Kapoor about 10 days ago. So I have written 2 books in the past, both on skin, both fortunately were bestsellers, but they were more traditional text-oriented books. But during the lockdown, for people like us who work 24 hours a day, suddenly there was a lot of time. And so I got a little inclined to Instagram and started seeing that there is so much awareness. There's a skincare boom, right? Earlier, you had to tell a person that, listen, please use a sunscreen because you're getting a sun allergy. But now people come and say, can we use this, can we use that? So there's a lot of skincare boom. And there is also at the same time a lot of confusion, as I said, because there's misinformation. A lot of people are churning out information without actually being qualified enough. So, whether they're influencers or bloggers, and they recommend products that are good to them, for them. And people not understanding that skincare has to be bespoke. Every skin is different. And what suits your best friend or your favorite actor may not suit you, right? So all of this then inspired me to do an Instagram live session every day. And there were millions of questions. Like the questions were like basic questions to really, what face wash should I use, or what cream should I use, to like really more advanced questions like, what about fillers? Can I do them? Can I do a Botox at 30, or can I do a lip filler at 20? And I want to look like Kylie Jenner, and I want to look like so and so. And so I said, listen, I think I need to put all of this now, because my two books are passé. This 2018 was my second book. This generation is different. They are thirsty, they are hungry for knowledge. There is awareness, but there's also a lot of, confusion. So let me put it all together, more simplified, and an easy read. And so I just put all those Instagram questions in a question answer format and compiled the book. So that's what you see. It's an Instagram follower book. It's for all of you who have been asking me all these questions on skincare, whether it's acne, hyperpigmentation, skin types, moisturizers, serums, AHA, BHA. I have students who come to me. I have kids who come to me with a bag full of serums. And I'm just looking like this and I'm saying, I don't use so much. So you don't need so much, but at the same time, you know about everything. You know about AHA, BHA, niacinamide, vitamin C, retinol. But do you know the right way to use it? Do you know how it should be used? Do you know the repercussions? All of that is there in the book. So that's what made me like the book. It is already a bestseller on Amazon, so I feel very proud to say that, but I just urge all of you, it's for all age groups. I had a friend who said my 12-year-old has read it, and I have another friend who said, my mom is 80, she's read the book in a day, and I felt really so elated because it is for all age groups, all genders, and you can just open any page because it's a Q&A format, it's not traditional text. You can just open any page and read it. So that's what it is.
That's really interesting. Ma'am, skincare in recent times has become like an everyday ritual to most of us. I guess even the audience will agree with the same. And if you ask me, then for sure. And I'm just trying. There has been a sudden rise in people having an extensive skincare regime. So what do you think of the pros and cons of having such regimes?
It's a very delightful thing to see that people are now giving importance to skin. Skin is the largest organ of the body, right? It is not just an ornamental organ of beauty. It has several functions. It synthesizes vitamin D, it regulates your temperature. It's an endocrine organ where a lot of hormonal changes take place, right? It's protecting you from the environmental toxins. It's also a window to your internal organs. So if you have, for example, if you have a renal disorder, a kidney disorder, it will show up as hyperpigmentation, dark patches. If you have diabetes, it will show up as recurrent infections which are not healing, typically yeast infections, candidal infections. If you have polycystic ovarian disease, it will show up as acne and hair loss and hyperpigmentation. If you have thyroid, it's dry skin and hyperpigmentation. So my first book was called Skin Talks, and this is exactly what it is. Your skin is constantly talking to you. Pay a little more attention to it. And that's why it's very gratifying to see that yes, people are now becoming aware and they are looking at skincare. When I started practice 23 years ago, I remember there was a 17-year-old boy who came to the clinic and he ran away. Okay, so when I looked at the appointment schedule and I said, there's this boy, what happened? So they said he got scared because he saw only females in the reception and he ran away. He was suffering from acne. And now, I think 50% of my patients are males, and all genders for that matter. And it's not just a female-oriented thing. And I feel so happy because everybody has skin. Right? So these are the pros, because there's awareness, there is knowledge, and people know what the different ingredients are, and what should be done. And that skincare is holistic. That it's not just applying some creams, that it's also about eating the right kind of diet, sleeping, exercising, learning to cope with stress. So each and every one of us here has some sort of stress, right? But the art is to deal with it. How do you deal with it? Are you meditating? Are you exercising? Are you dancing? Are you, doing... I tell my patients that, listen, if nothing, just put some Topoli song and just dance, and live for yourself, practice self-love. Learn to embrace yourself, learn to embrace your color, and surround yourself with positive people. So all of this comes as pros of social media. Now the cons are definitely that, as I said, there's a plethora of information. Some of it is misinformation. A lot of times home remedies that I see, applying baking soda, lime, lemon, people coming to me with burns, people buying products, chemical peels, really strong chemical peels, applying it at home, coming with scars, coming with irritation, because they don't know what is right for them and they've just seen something and picked it up, right? And then the other side of it, which I said, where people want to look like somebody, right? And there is a tremendous amount of psychological trauma on a person who probably doesn't look the way he or she wants to look. Oh, my nose is very big, or oh, I'm very dark, my color is dark, or my selfies don't come out right, I don't look as good as my friends. So there is a lot of that which makes the person either get into a shell, or there's a constant FOMO, and so they want to do too many things. And then there is an obsession. So you have people they keep coming back saying, I think this, I think that, and I keep telling them, listen, embrace yourself. Good skin is about radiant skin, blemish-free skin. When you wake up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel confident. That is what it should be. Everything else should be embraced. Somebody yesterday said, I don't like my nose. I said, that's your character, keep it. Right? Embrace yourself. So there are some cons, but everywhere there are pros and cons. So you have to take that, you have to be that right decision maker. And I will come back to the book and say, that's what is mentioned in the book. So please go ahead and buy it.
I'm sure answers to all our questions will be resolved once we read that book. Mahendra Singh ji, and coming to you, Vadodara Literature Festival, if I pronounce that right, or Arthashastra, many ancient texts talk about how homosexuality is an unnatural phenomenon. Now there are those who claim to protect culture, for example, many in the government, who yet think this is unnatural. What are your thoughts on the Indian attitude towards homosexuality?
See, I think I've already answered a part of the question. I mean, we are in the process of going through an educational training. It's happening in Delhi, in the Supreme Court, where these things are, the arguments are happening at the moment, where some claims have been made by people that this is not in the text, this is unhealthy and it's unnatural and all. But what is the fact is going to be coming revealed in the court very soon. And I mean, these are all things which people are kind of claiming to be true. But what court will see is evidence. You cannot just say things and not produce evidence or not produce any supporting. I mean, court is not going to listen to that. I mean, we have already won a case in 2018 where again the religious leaders of India, all of them, and I mentioned when I told this, I was in Los Angeles and I spoke in a public event. I said, first time in the history of India, all the religious leaders united. All religious leaders, you talk of their religion, they all united. And they all came and fought with us, and not even one religious leader won. Because they are just making claims, They don't have evidence against us that, and court needs evidence and it needs supporting. So whatever claims people are making, get the evidence and then produce it to the court and see. Whereas we have evidence that this was part of our culture. We have evidence in text, we have evidence in paintings, we have evidence in statues. I myself gone and photographed. We talk about Khajuraho, which is a very well-known temple. But in Gujarat, there are several temples. I have been recently to a temple, Maya must have visited there, Dahod, where your friends, our friends, Dipti and Vanita also stay. I have myself gone and photographed the sculptures and temples. It's an 800-year-old temple. It's not a new temple, it's 800 years old. And I've got photographs of that. So, we have the proof, So, if people want to challenge us, we are ready to face the challenge. We will educate them and they will get a degree from the Supreme Court, a graduation degree. They will graduate from Supreme Court and get a degree in their hand, and then they will know who is false and who is true.
I just have one question. Why don't straight people ever have to show any evidence for straightness? Why is it always the burden for queer people to show us your evidence, show us your this? I mean, all the data says that we're 6 to 10% of any population. Why do we also always have to show, see, we are there in sculptures, we are there in science, we are here, we are there. I don't think any straight person has any time shown that they are there anywhere. Show me. How do you know you're straight? I'd really like to see, because it's really taxing and irritating. We have a constitution that gives us equality, that guarantees us freedom. Then why do some people have to keep on proving our existence and others just assume that theirs is natural? I really hate it. And I really hope that you young people, don't create such an irritating society for your future. And focus on things that really matter instead of this kind of nonsense, please. Thank you.
So in your book, Gay Bombay, you discuss using sexuality as a lens to assess aspects such as politics and culture, in which sexuality is dominantly seen. Could you please speak a little more about it and the process has looked like this for you?
So yeah, in both Gay Bombay and Queeristan, Gay Bombay is much older. It looked at technology and sexuality, how they combined to create a particular moment in the early days of the internet in our country, where LGBTQ based identities were coming to the forefront. And so it links back to your previous question about social media. Before Facebook, Instagram, etc., there were websites. Maybe your generation doesn't remember because they all only know apps and cell phones. But there were these big things called computers, and we had the internet on those big things called computers. And people would go to websites and things like that. Even before that, there was this weird thing called telephones, which had lines with wires, and there was these big boxes called TVs and all. I don't think your generation knows this because everything is on the phone. No? But TVs were stuck to a wall. Imagine you couldn't take it with you in your hand everywhere. So retro. So at that time, I wrote Gay Bombay, which spoke about how technology created a particular moment in time for LGBTQ people to gather, to connect and to create some kind of Indian identity, which even at that time I was saying is very rooted to the idea of Indianness. A lot of the young people I interviewed for Gay Bombay at that time did not say that we want to run away to San Francisco and live a gay life. They said we want to be gay in our own country, we want to marry someone of our choice, we want a dhoom-dhams, a big wedding, a whole family or village or whatever should come, and heteropatriarchal, whatever problematic issues that straight people have, queer people at that time also wanted the same, and I think it continues even till today. So we want to be like everyone else, only problematic as that might be. By the time I reach Queeristan, which is the new book, it talks about the creation of a corporate, within the corporate world, within the world of business, how so many organizations across companies, workplaces and so on, schools, colleges and so on are understanding the importance of LGBTQ inclusion and creating spaces for that. So both my books, in a sense, talk about the changing face of the country, how through technology, through workplaces and so on, society has changed. In some cases, they mirror the change in society. In some cases, I would argue, because of the work that, say, people are doing in workplaces, schools, colleges, etc., we are leading society. Because who our parliament people, our judges, our lawyers, etc., read the newspapers. They read that IIMUN is organizing a panel at Parul in which they're talking about LGBTQ. They're influenced. They're like, oh, this is normal. It's normal to include, right? So in some cases, the work that we do leads society, and then society itself changes. So has Bollywood changed society, or has society changed Bollywood? We don't know. Have more parents become accepting in India after seeing Amir Khan episode on Satyamed Jayate where so many parents embrace their queer children? Or did Amir Khan do that episode because there were so many parents embracing their queer children in India? It's a symbiotic relationship, but both the books in that sense have chronicled and also led this kind of transformational change. But now I'm, at 47, I kind of feel I'm done. The onus is really on y'all. Everyone, the average age is 20 over here. Please, y'all need to step up and do a lot of the more work, because I want to put my feet up and chillax. So, y'all do the heavy lifting. I'll come and give talks when y'all want. So the next book, y'all write.
So moving forward to something more fun, it's the time for rapid fire. So rules are pretty simple.
Hamper ka hai? You have to show the hamper first.
We have these amazing books.
Hamper dikhao.
We have something special for you, sir. So as I told, rules are pretty simple. I'll just give you a word. You just have to mention what is the first thought that has come on your mind when I say, for example, leadership. Alright? Okay. So when I say mental health, ma'am, what is the first word? Mental health.
Love.
Alright, the next word, books.
Read more.
Favorite genre? Favorite genre?
Love yourself.
Okay, that's amazing. So when I say India,
Modi.
when I say BLF, Vadodara Literature Fest,
Youthful. I think youthful.
when I say IIMUN, sir.
When I say IIMUN, yeah. Babysitting. No, very nice. But everyone, I've been from the airport till now, it's so much love, I feel like I'm a baby.
I think you guys really made us feel like kings, and I felt like a queen. So outstanding. Your hospitality has been outstanding.
I'm trying to find how to escape my minder and run and go do some naughty things and then come back. But see, I'm scared. They're there only.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure audience are also wishing to ask you certain questions. So, ma'am, with your permission. In the end, sir, in the end, definitely in the end. So the ones wishing to raise questions, ma'am, sir, with your permission, please raise your hands and the mic will be circulated accordingly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lavanya. Hello. Ma'am, my question is for you. How can we support our friends and family if they come out to us?
In terms of skin or in terms of LGBT?
No, in terms of LGBT. Like, I have a brother and I know he wants to come out, everyone knows, but I fear how will I support him if he does?
I think, the first thing is to, in the entire family, there has to be acceptance, right? So first, you have to tell your own self that this is normal, right? Only then will you be able to tell the rest of the world that this is normal. So it comes from there. It comes from a lot of love, a lot of, reaching out to organizations which help you, which support you. It also comes to the point that, okay, let's discuss it openly in the family, and understand that this child is going through a lot of trauma for no fault of his or hers, right? So, and just give love. That's why when she said, this thing, I said love, because it's all about love and acceptance.
Thank you.
If I can follow up, and this is for others, there are incredible organizations also. So there is Swikar Parents, which operates all over India. You can see them on Facebook. It's parents of queer children who have formed a support group. You can reach out to them, and they're often very useful, and they come if someone wants to come out to their parents. A parent who has already accepted another queer child might be a useful ally, so you can reach out to Swikar. Wherever your friend is located in India at this point, there's incredible NGOs, right? So there's Vikalp Lakshya and Vadodara itself, like that. There are so many incredible queer NGOs. Reach out to them. There's more than 250 books now on being LGBTQ. So if you want to accept your queer friend, educate yourself by reading about queer lives, experiences, and so many films, etc. It is very much about love. Often it's just about listening to that person and giving that person that comfortable space to be themselves. Don't force the person into anything that they don't want to do. So don't say you must come out or you mustn't come out or whatever. Let that person go on their journey yourself. You be a useful resource, be a sounding board, learn more, and be a good ally in whichever way you can. Yeah, but use all the resources that you have. Yeah.
Also, I think social media is huge. I have a lot of friends. I mean, if I can name some, there's Sushant Tirkekar, and there's Trinetru, who's a doctor. There are a lot of them who are there to support you. Even you can reach out to them on social media, on Instagram, and they're really doing a lot for the community. So you can look at these as inspirations, and of course, as you're the better person, or reach out to all these organizations. At the end of the day, you have to be kind to yourself and kind to the person, and everything just flows automatically. So, and it is not, it's a journey, it's not a destination. So that's something that you have to understand.
Good morning, sir. My name is Anushri Warrior, and my question is for Parmesh. So, what are your thoughts on current Supreme Court case on same-sex marriage in India? Are we taking one step forward or two steps backward?
How is it two steps backward? We are only taking steps forwards, my dear. So my thoughts on it, well, again, as Manav has been saying, it's very useful that the case has gone up to the Supreme Court and that we've had so much visibility, because through the coverage we have educated so many people about the fact that the Constitution guarantees all of us equality, about the fact that queerness has always existed in Indian history and society, about the fact that there are so many queer couples, queer relationships of all kinds in our country which are already existing, for whom marriage equality would be a big benefit, me and my partner included as well. So my thoughts and my hopes are that the Supreme Court judges recognize all of this as evidence and grant marriage equality to everyone. Evidence from all over the world shows that there are now so many countries all over the world in which marriage equality is normal, and society only blooms and progresses more. Of course, when marriage equality comes, it's not all queer people have to get married, just like not all straight people don't have to get married. Straight people who want to can get married in this country, and queer people who want to will get married in this country later on. So it's not going to be suddenly, there's not going to be millions of people marrying just because it's it's allowed. But it's just that millions of people, because 6 to 10% of the population is LGBTQ, so we're talking about 100 to about 140 million queer Indians who exist already. will have the same rights as the straight counterparts to marry or not to marry, and all the benefits that it brings with it. So whether it's succession planning, whether it's inheritance, whether it's taxation, so many other benefits that will accrue that straight people are already getting. Because remember, queer people we are paying the same tax rates, there's not we are giving you lesser rights, you pay less. And Sindhi, you know. So if they say instead of paying 33%, we are not giving you these rights, you pay 15%, I'll say, But if I'm paying the same tax and all, I should get the same benefit. No, and we are in Gujarat, not the state of Gujarat. No, you understand business. So we're paying the same tax, we should get the same benefits of being part of the society, no? So that's it. So I hope, my hope is that the Honorable Supreme Court passes a verdict in favor of marriage equality, recognizing that it is a path forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing. Definitely, of course, the community will be benefiting, but the India on the whole is also going to benefit. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm actually doing a lot of advocacy with the government, trying to explain to them the value of pink economy. We call it pink economy. And what is pink economy is that very recently World Bank had done a study, and at that study had shown that, and this study was done with respect to India, that if a country like India is able to recognize the human rights of its citizens, I'm using the word human rights, okay, human rights of its citizens, then it is definitely going to improve the economic situation of the country. I mean, India is not a country where we don't have debts. It's a debt-ridden country. We have taken so many debts, so many loans from the World Bank and many other places. By giving the basic human rights, we are not asking for anything extra. We are not asking, give us special rights or reservations or no. We are just asking for the rights which are guaranteed by the Indian Constitution to all citizens. As Parmesh says, if I'm paying tax, then I should get the right that any other citizen is getting. I'm also paying tax, but I don't get the right. So we are just asking for that. And mind you, there are so many travelers. I have attended a World International Tourism Conference in New York 3 years back, and people are just waiting that the day India recognizes same-sex marriage, there will be hundreds, thousands of LGBT travelers who are wanting to visit India. Imagine how much of foreign exchange, how much of foreign currency India is going to earn, how much of tourism, hospitality, airlines. India is going to become super rich, just if they are giving us this basic human right, India is going to develop economically very fast. And that's what any country that wants economic development. No country wants to be always having liabilities and debts. And that's the importance of pink economy. Mind you, gay couples, lesbian couples are filthy rich. They both, he's a Sindhi, so I'm talking money. So they are filthy. I mean, I've seen how their lifestyles are in foreign countries. They will come to India, they'll spend a lot of money. And I'm already getting, same-sex marriage is not legalized still, I'm already getting couples and coming and staying with me from all over the world. And I know how much they like to spend, So it will definitely improve the economic situation of India if we are able to legalize this.
I hope the court heard all these arguments. I hope all this was put forward. Very good.
Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Sumit Kulkarni. I'm a journalism student. I wanted to ask that the concept of equal pay for equal work, how can that be a reality in India? We see it in metro cities, but probably not in smaller towns.
You're talking about the wage gap in general.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that will be a reality in government jobs. In government jobs, there's no gender-based wage gap. What tends to happen in most workplaces is that, which is why the answer has to be holistic. What tends to happen, I can talk about the private sector because that's where I spend a lot of time, right? A lot of organizations now are, when people enter the workforce, a lot of organizations taken, say, more women into the workforce. So most workforces now, the starting batch is like, 50-50, 60-40, etc., right? What tends to happen is there's two moments where women drop out of the workforce. And when I'm saying now men and women, I'm saying very broad, biological and trans both, but the data is, we don't have as much data for gender as a whole spectrum, so I'm using gender in a very basic binary way, although that's not what I believe in, right? But all the data is for gender as a binary thing, right? So when women marry, that's when women leave the workforce, and then after childbirth, unfortunately, because of the social construct in India, since men don't often step up with child-rearing responsibilities and so on, women often are forced to, or are compelled to, or guilt-tripped into leaving the workforce to look after their children and so on. And so by the time they come back to the workforce, and this is where organizations see merit very differently. So I think you have to question the idea of merit. Because if a man has been doing the same work for 4 years, and if a woman leaves and comes back, say, in 2 years or 3 years, organizations will pay that woman less because they'll say you took 2 years out of the workforce, not using her time away from the workforce as a meritorious act. If I was hiring someone, would I consider a man who has done 4 years doing the same job, or a woman who has done 2 years of that job, taken time out, learned innovative skills like child rearing, multitasking, etc., and come back to the workforce? I would probably give her a promotion. So I think the pay gap also unfortunately comes in some scenarios like this, where returning women, etc., are not paid on parity. Certainly there's a lot of biases, and lots of studies have been done in terms of biases in the workplace, where men assume the performance of their male colleagues to be better than that of their female colleagues and so on. And so the pay gap tends to increase. There's been enough work done also with a lot of work on gender. A lot of men who are not good enough, but somehow I don't know from where they get swag from, they think they are incredible. A lot of women who are incredible and deal with issues of self-confidence and don't ask for more in terms of salaries and so on. So it's a comprehensive thing with which, the gender-based pay gap continues to increase. How to solve it? I mean, all of you have to do it. All of you have to encourage, support, be good allies to each other. The men in this room have to be incredible allies to your female colleagues. The women in this room need to, I'm not going to be very simplistic and say stand up more and be assertive more, etc., because that's really stupid and simplistic. You're working with a system which is very loaded and gendered and problematic against you. You need to be cognizant of that, understand the system, and everyone really needs to be stepping up a little bit more to create a more equitable playing field. More work, I would say, has to be done by men, because men have, been at an advantage over years. Men are the ones who have created these structures of power, and by institutions like colleges, workplaces, which understand how these things work so that you can actually remedy some. I don't know if that answered your question in a nutshell, but this is the subject of hundreds of PhD theses. I don't know if anyone else has to add to that.
Thank you so much.